Beloved friends, I'm Reverend Dr. James A. Bertell. To my friends, I'm just Dr. Jim. And I want to ask you to make this message that I'm going to give you right now. I'm going to ask that you make this message go viral on the internet. You see, America has departed its foundational moorings. And if America is to be restored to its foundational roots that made this a great nation, it needs changes in 3 areas. And the changes need to be made in a preferred 1, 2, 3 order. For example, we need a cultural change, that is, a change in personal values, our moral system. Secondly, we need a change in the education area. That is a change of methods of teaching and a change in curriculum. And we need a structural change, and that is a return to constitutional originalism. There it is, pure and simple. A cultural change, an educational change, and a structural change. You see, I believe that if America is to be restored to its foundational moorings that made this nation great, it will require a cultural, education, and structural change. First of all, the needed cultural change is personal. That is, each person needs to assure himself or herself that it is his or her values and that those values are consistent with biblical church age values. Remember, at the time, like right now, in human history, every human being on this planet has been drafted into the angelic conflict. Therefore, every human being's marching orders comes from the Bible, especially from the writings of the Apostle Paul. You see, when an American citizen is spiritually saved and is clean before the Lord, and is functioning in what I call Operation Cry. That is, knowing that the old man's been crucified with Christ, reckoning the old man dead, reckoning the new man alive, and yielding to God the Holy Spirit. Thus functioning in the sphere of the Spirit and from the source of the new man or the new woman. Well, bingo! The needed cultural change has been made. And not until then. You see, it's the resolution of the angelic conflict that makes this to be so. Well, secondly, the educational changes requires changes in both teaching methods and curriculum content. In 1985, Samuel L. Blumenfeld wrote the booklet, Who Killed Excellence? Now, the editor's preview introduces the booklet, and I quote, There's been much talk of a crisis in education and much speculation as to what or who is to blame for the mediocrity in our schools. Professor Samuel Blumenfeld offers a clear and convincing explanation of how the goals of the professional educator have changed and have thus adversely affected the quality and content of education. We cannot correct what we don't understand, and this booklet, I believe, that is Who Killed Excellence, is a must-read. Now, thirdly, the structural change must consider the 11 Liberty Amendments suggested by author Mark Levin in his book, The Liberty Amendments. His 11 amendments to the United States Constitution offer solutions to bring about a structural change. Now, Levin offers 3 reasons why the 11 Liberty Amendments will not be considered by the masses, and I think that's interesting. He said, here's what it's going to take to bring about a structural change, but I'm going to offer 3 reasons why I don't believe these 11 amendments will be considered. He said, I believe that I believe that these same 3 reasons apply equally well to both the cultural change and the educational change. And here they are. Number 1, he said, unfamiliarity with its history and its workings. He said, secondly, resigned to the grim future, preferring lamentation to the hard work of purposeful action. And thirdly, he says, unmindful and content. You see, these 3 reasons clearly explain the reasons for failure to bring about a cultural, educational, and structural change. Levin goes on to say, there are untold numbers of citizens who comprehend the perilous times and circumstances, and the urgency to draw this nation's attention to the restoration of constitutional republicanism. And his book, The Liberty Amendments, is an appeal to them, an appeal to those people who actually understand. My comment is this. There are untold numbers of citizens who comprehend our present national perilous times and circumstances, and the urgency of drawing this nation's attention to the restoration of constitutional republicanism in conjunction with the restoration of our cultural system and a restoration of our educational system. You see, in the long run, it really doesn't make any difference in what order these three changes take place. But if this nation is to be restored to its early moorings, all three changes must be in place simultaneously. Now, my further comment. I personally am one of those untold numbers of citizens who comprehend our nation's perilous times and circumstances. I am willing to try to find those people wherever they are in America and draw them together to fight the battle for the restoration of constitutional republicanism. Why in the world would I want to fight this battle? Why should we want to fight this battle? First of all, because it offers the continued freedom to worship as we please. Secondly, because it offers the continued freedom to evangelize the lost. Thirdly, because it offers the continued freedom to send out missionaries. And finally, in fourth position, because it offers us the continued freedom to be a friend of Israel. Now I have a question. Will you join me as one of the untold numbers of citizens who comprehend our national perilous times and circumstances? And are you willing to fight the battle for the restoration of constitutional republicanism? Now, by fighting the battle, I'm not talking about a reference to physical violence. It refers to whatever is necessary short of physical violence. And it's going to require a willingness to live what we preach and a willingness to share God's plan to achieve spiritual life, true spiritual life. It will require a willingness to understand the true American system and share it with others, especially with our youngest generation. It will require that we be involved in whatever is necessary to bring about the structural change of our U.S. government. Now I ask a question. Are you willing to become involved? If so, I'm asking you to email me at drjim@bertell.org. That's drjim @bertell.org. BRETTELL.org. And I'm asking you to email me with just 3 words. It can be the content of the email or it can be the subject line. Here it is. I'm with you. Capital I apostrophe M. With you. I'm with you. You see, it has to start somewhere. And I believe that I'm qualified in all 3 areas to lead such a movement. It's not about me. It's about the restoration of our country. You see, I have an earned Master of Divinity and an earned Doctor of Ministry degree. I'm a student of the original languages of the Bible. I've been teaching my congregations anywhere from 3 to 9 times a week for the past 43 years. I believe this qualifies me to lead for cultural changes in the United States. My Bachelor of Science in Education degree, my Master of Divinity degree, and my Doctor of Ministry degree are steeped in education courses. I personally spent 28 years in a classroom seat as a student. I've been a pastor-teacher for 43 years and the principal of the John T. Goad Christian School for 7 years. During those 7 years, I taught on every level from K-5 to grade 12. I believe that qualifies me to lead for changes in the field of education. Thirdly, I'm an American. I'm a student of history. I'm a student of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. I've served 9 years in the United States Navy. I've worked for the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I believe I'm qualified to lead for structural changes in the United States. I've asked God to grant me 3 million people from among the citizens of the United States of America to lead for cultural change, educational change, and structural change in the United States. Now, to begin with, I am asking you once again to send an email to drjim@bertell.org, drjim@bertell.org, with just 3 words. I'm with you. Now, as time goes along, I'll recommend opportunities for individual involvement for cultural change, educational change, and structural change. And as you email me, I will post your name on my website in a particular area. I'll tell you where. in a later commentary. But I'm going to post your name to show that you are willing to stand with me. Friends, I'm not going to ask you for money. Money isn't going to solve the problem. I'm not going to ask you to join anything, join my church, not that. I'm going to ask simply that you join with us and let me know that you're with us and standing with us to restore this country to its constitutional republicanism. With that in mind, send me an email, drjim@bretell.org, drjim@bretell.org. God bless you, and God bless America.